This is The Extra Mile.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Extra Mile. I'm Kill Spear along with
G5.
the G5. That's right. And we're not in the studio no more, are we?
No, we are not. So forgive us. We are transitioning studios right now. And
Exciting times.
Yeah, very exciting. So forgive us and be patient with us. This does just look good. So
Yeah, and most of you are listening on, audio only. It's a podcast after all.
if you are listening, yeah,
you're fine. You're
good.
You're not missing nothing. But we're in my office kind of going for it up here. But I think today we're going to get off and start on a new series, right? What's our series that we're going to do?
Right, we're going to talk about God.
Oh, on a Christian podcast, we're going to talk about God?
Yeah.
What an idea.
If you didn't know. We're going to really go into who is God, and that's going to be kind of the idea of this series, is going into who is God? What is his character? Who are we serving?
Yeah.
Do we even know who we're serving and who we're worshiping?
Kind of an important question.
Yeah, it is really important.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
In our Western, especially American mind, since it's based on Judeo-Christian values,
Yeah.
when we hear God, most of us are probably thinking of the same God, at least in our nation's background. Now, that's beginning
I'm
to...
thinking of the universe.
That's beginning to slowly change, right?
That's right. It is. Everyone gets their own thing. It's a bearded guy in the sky, or it's like the universe. Universe helped me today.
Well, it's actually say bearded guy in the sky because it can even be muddled amongst Christians.
It can.
Sometimes we're going to be muddled. So this name and story, not just the name, but the story also is going to help us identify who's, the God that we're speaking of, the God of the Bible.
That's right.
Who is that? Because, there are lots of so-called gods in the world and throughout history, right?
Oh, there's tons of gods. Yeah.
Today you might have Allah or the Indian god Vishnu, or you got ancient Greco-Roman gods.
Zeus and all that stuff. Yeah.
Zeus. Those are gods.
Yep.
Now, we're going to do something shocking. Celebrities, yeah. Here's something shocking on the podcast. We're going to agree with an atheist.
Oh.
What's that guy's name again, George?
Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, Christopher Hitchens. What was his
His
thing on religion?
spiel was basically, you have two options. You have all these religions, but of all these religions, only one can be correct. And only one can be correct. Or none of them can be correct.
Yeah.
And so you kind of are left with this idea, and he's right on that idea.
Right. All the religions, past, present, and future, can't be right.
There has to be one right answer. So it's either one religion or no religion.
Right, because they would, Greco-Roman, Greek gods and goddesses and Egyptian gods, or today Allah of Islam, and
different.
They all contradict.
Yeah.
Can it all be true?
Yeah. And so we obviously disagree with the option.
He's going to say none of them are.
Yeah.
You can get into some scientific stuff like, so where'd everything come from? Law of biogenesis. But
all that crazy stuff.
Let's go to the Hebrew Bible. It's our Bible today, but it's written from a Hebrew point of view. So when they say God, they know what God we're talking about. But Genesis 1:1, famous, reads what?
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Now, what is significant about this word God?
So the Hebrew is Elohim, right? Elohim or Elohim?
Elohim. I think.
Elohim.
Yeah.
Elohim.
Tomato. Yeah.
Elohim, and it's more of this title.
Yeah.
Than it is God. So it's I like to think of it as like mom. If I say mom, I could mean my grandma, my great grandma, my mother-in-law, my mom. But when I say mom, for me personally, it's my biological mother.
Right, versus when I say mom, I'm talking about a different person.
You're talking about a different person.
Altogether. So, God, that we read in our English Bibles, God, this is Old Testament, written in Hebrew, but Elohim, the Hebrew word, you're saying title, right?
Right.
Right, so it's a title, not a name.
No.
Title. Refers to a deity, obviously.
That's right.
So, we see the title of Elohim, and we learn about this deity, that this deity is what called ex nihilo, creates everything from seemingly nothing.
That's right.
The heavens and the earth, from their Hebrew point of view, that the heavens would be like space that we say today. That's everything. Pretty cool. Not all gods throughout history have claimed to even done that. Now, some gods throughout history some people do claim that their Elohim, so to say, that their God did this. So there's more to evaluate there. But we're beginning to see this character and even nature of God. This is the powerful God who created everything we know.
Created everything, didn't come out of everything. Kind of flips everything upside down.
Yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of ancient Near Eastern gods and their creation accounts, the gods, there's a bunch of them, and they come from matter. They didn't produce matter. Kind of a big difference. But of course, Genesis 1:27 and 28 is where we meet Adam, right? Mankind.
Just Adam, bro.
Yeah, Adam.
Just Adam.
Well, Adam means man.
Yeah, I know.
You get the idea. But like man and woman, we reflect this creator's image.
Right.
Kind of a big deal.
His image.
Pretty big deal, yeah?
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. Absolutely.
Now, obviously we know the story. How would you recap the story of the garden?
Oh, man. Well, basically, God creates Adam and Eve and is given a mission, right? What's the mission?
I guess you could say like cultivate and tend the
garden. Right, right. And they're not supposed to eat from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and eventually they do. And Satan comes as a serpent, entices them to you could be like God, and
that's the enticement. You can be like God.
Yeah.
And they exchange the relationship and love and glory of God for this fake glory.
That's right.
That's Romans 3:23. For all have fallen short, or they lack the glory of God. So when we sin, we're not of the same, peace, or we're not in right standing with this Elohim. And so famously, you get Genesis 3:16 that even though man turned their back on God, we have the option or have a chance for redemption. And that's the point of Genesis 3:16, that from Eve, from woman, will come a seed that will crush the serpent's head. And then much later, way later, Genesis 12:3, there's a promise to Abram or Abraham that through him, through this nation that will come from him, all the peoples of the earth, everyone, will be blessed. So this God, how would we characterize that? I mean, what are some character traits when you hear all this?
When you hear that, I mean, this is a God that's making a promise, making a vow.
Yeah.
And he doesn't break his promises.
He didn't have to do that either.
No, he didn't have to do. Yeah.
We're the ones, human beings, are the ones who said, we'll exchange your glory for our own.
That's right.
Yeah.
We break vows.
We're not the ones who created the heavens and the earth. Big deal.
I mean, when he told us to cultivate and tend to the garden, that basically we agreed to that. That was a vow, and we broke that vow.
Yeah. A beautiful purpose to tend that garden. Kind of his kingdom. Kind of a similar idea we'll probably talk about later. We're still advancing a kingdom today.
That's right.
So much later, of course, Abraham, you go down the line, Isaac, Jacob, and so on. You get to Joseph, coat of many colors, and now we're in Egypt. And the Israelites become so numerous.
That's Genesis.
And what'd I say?
I was just capping off what you said.
Yeah.
And that's Genesis.
There you go. That's Genesis. That's all you need to know.
That's right.
Crazy book. And Pharaoh's scared of them, and so he enslaves them. And if you know the promises, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking, hey, God, what about these promises that we had made to Abraham and so on?
Yeah, I'm working my butt off. Where are you?
Yeah, that's what I'd be thinking. But we see once again that God definitely has, like we saw in the garden, a care or relationship for these people. It's different now because we've sinned, but there's still the same love and concern.
And that's the beauty of when we pick up in Exodus 2, which we're going to look at.
Yeah, read that.
He introduces himself. And it says, during those many days, the king of Egypt died, and the people of Israel groaned because of their slavery and cried out for help. Their cry for rescue from the slavery came up to Elohim, God. And God, that's Elohim, heard their groaning, Elohim. And God, Elohim, remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. God, Elohim, saw the people of Israel, and God, Elohim, knew.
That's just too many Elohims. That's just, but again and again, we don't have the name. The point is we have the title. Right? The title. But the title of this Elohim, this God, is someone who hears and cares that they're suffering and knows that he has this, like you said, promise or covenant with this people.
Yeah.
Abraham's family's enslaved. So you have a really sad situation. It sounds very desperate. And then you go to Exodus 3, verse 1, and remember Moses. Now, Moses grew up a prince of Egypt. Now, I'd imagine he was taught about a lot of other so-called gods in Egypt.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But then he discovers, wait, I'm not an Egyptian. I'm a Hebrew, an Israelite, and you know the story. He kills the Egyptian, and Pharaoh wants to kill him, and he runs off. So here he is. He's tending his flock. This mountain called Horeb, that's Sinai, right? It's called the mountain of Elohim, of God. And Exodus 3:2, he's out there tending the flock of the sheep, and this angel of the Lord, we'll talk about that Lord, all caps, in a second, but the angel of the Lord appeared to Moses in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. Moses looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. That sounds
That's weird.
Freaky. Would you go investigate, or would you be too?
Of course.
You'd be too freaked out.
No, I'd be into that.
I can't tell. I wonder if I'd be too freaked out or.
Be freaked out?
You just want to look.
Well, you are a chicken.
I'm a chicken. I'm like Gideon. We just had VBS with Gideon. It's so interesting. If you remember Genesis, we've met this angel of the Lord before. We've met this guy before. Now, angel, Malach means like messenger, and then Lord, all caps. We're going to find out that that's the personal name of God. But read Exodus 3:3-5. Moses sees this. He's not a chicken, really. It
says, I will turn aside, Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. And then he said, Do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground.
Yeah. I really like the animated movie Prince of Egypt. They do a great job with this scene. The only other place that I can think of off the top of my head where someone's told, take your sandals off, for where you're standing is holy ground, I think it's Joshua 6, right before the Israelites come into the promised land and wipe out Jericho.
The commander of God's army.
Yeah, who's really weird. Who is that? Why are we taking off our sandals? And Joshua's like worshiping him. But same figures here in the bush, this angel of the Lord. This character is being revealed. He very personally calls Moses.
Yeah.
And we're going to see, well, why? And who is this person? If I keep scrolling down our notes here, we see this idea, though, of holy ground. Now, how are you describing holy, George? How are you saying it?
I'd say, separate, set apart.
Yeah. Distinct.
Distinct.
Yeah. I think in our culture, people hear holy and they think kind of like
you're prude.
Like a self-righteous kind of person.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no. This is something much more significant and valuable and important.
Yeah.
Set apart. He's not like us, right? We're from the dust. Adam, man is from the dust. And we've learned already that's not the case for this Elohim, for this God.
Right.
Pretty
a spiritual being.
Yeah, the spiritual being, very unique. Now, go down, let's look at Exodus 3:6. So God is going to tell Moses who he is, right? Exodus 3:6.
Right. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God.
So again, like George pointed out, God is a title. Elohim. In Hebrew, Elohim. I know in our culture we say God, we know what we're talking about, the Bible, the God of the Bible. But in their culture, Elohim, God. So here he doesn't actually reveal his name like we're about to read. He goes into the story. You were talking about, George, wondering, like, you've got other George Loomises, right? Because you're G5.
That's right, G5. I got two other Georges.
Right. 2 other George Loomises even.
That's right, that I know of. Yeah.
And so how would I tell the difference?
Well, each one of us have a different story and experiences and different, unique to each of us that make up our own identity, if you will.
Yeah, and that'd be big for Moses, because even though Moses might know this God of Israel, he was in a state of religious pluralism almost. There are many gods according to the Egyptians. Right. And so the answer is, I'm the Elohim of your ancestors. The story of the promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, big deal. That's what we've been reading about through the whole book of Genesis. This promise. When's it going to happen? And he identifies with these people.
So basically, I am like you said, Elohim, the God that Jacob and Isaac and Abraham worshipped.
Yes, that's the point, the story. Now, look at verses 7 and 8, same chapter, obviously. So now,
says the Lord, that's all capital. Yeah. The Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their suffering, and I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of the land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey.
I know their sufferings. We're going to talk about the omnipresence of God too later.
It's true.
God knows them, and here it is, the promise, this land also. In verses 9 and 10 of Exodus 3, he says, the cries of Israel, they've come to me. The oppressions, Egypt is oppressing them. He says, come. So that's weird. Verses 8 and 9, God says, I'm going to come down. But then verse 10 of the same chapter, God tells Moses, come, I'll send you to Pharaoh that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. What's so weird about that?
Man, he's going to... I'm not sure how to say it. I mean,
it was hitting me like he says, I'm going to send you to save my people. At least in my mind, I'm like,
why doesn't he just do it?
Yeah. I'm like, if you're a people God, just, snap your finger and poof, everyone pops up in the promised land.
Of milk and honey.
Yeah. It's all good. The end. That's the story. That's probably our preconceptions, though, of what God would do.
Yeah, that wouldn't help anything. We need that work, if you will.
Oh, yeah, work. Because you were talking about what Adam and Eve did in the garden before the fall.
When they cultivated and tended to the garden, right?
Before the fall.
Before the fall.
Like, work was changed with the thorns in Genesis 3, but having a purpose from God is considered good. Like, it's good.
It is.
It's good to have.
It is.
Pre-fall.
And we still have that work to cultivate and to tend our faith. And that's going to grow as we work.
Right. You read the Bible, and it's pretty rare that God doesn't use a human being.
No.
Yeah, it's all in his providential hand, but it's like, so it seems to me this God, this Elohim that we're reading of Israel, isn't super concerned with efficiency.
No.
Why Moses is scared to go back. He's like, look, I ran away. Pharaoh wants to kill me, and you want to send me back? And
hey, we got to be strong. That means we got to do the hard stuff.
Yeah. Look at verses 11 and 12, still Exodus 3. We kind of see excuse number 1 from Moses.
Of course. And Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? I don't know, maybe like a former prince of Egypt. And bringing the children of Israel out of Egypt, he said, but I will be with you, and this shall be the sign for you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain.
Right, they're going to come back to Sinai, 10 Commandments, all that. But I think in essence, when Moses is like, who am I? Which is funny because he has a prestigious background. But then again, he's been kicked out and he's scared. And God says, kind of bluntly, it doesn't matter who you are. Yeah. He's like, the truth is that I will be with you. If God is with us, who can stand against us?
He says that a bunch of other characters, even with Gideon. I'll be with you.
Yeah, he tells him that. Now, in verse 12, in our English Bible says, I will be, is ehyeh. He's saying, I will be with you. Ehyeh, I will be, and then with you. Now, God's obviously not saying, I'm not with you right now, or I haven't been with you. It's not like God's saying, tomorrow I'll be with you, but I'm not going to be around for the time being. It's up to you. It's like present and ongoing.
It's right now, it's forever.
That's some translations. That's why they say I am with you versus I will be with you. But the same idea is conveyed that, hey, even when you go to Egypt, I'll still be with you. But now we're going to see verse 13, objection number 2 from Moses.
Okay. So then Moses said to God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers have sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? Yeah,
he's saying, because remember, God is a title. Who is this Elohim? What do I tell them?
I want some details, specifics. Peel back the layers a little bit.
Yeah, now
they're in Egypt. There's a lot of other
gods.
Yeah.
And they might be suspect. This might be me putting too much. I hope not. They might be suspect to Moses. They're like, this guy was a prince of Egypt. What God are you speaking of? They're like, are you talking about, Ra or whatever of Egypt? Who are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it's weird because Exodus 3:14, God, he's about to, but God does not start off by saying what we're going to know as his personal name. He doesn't say that. Exodus 3:14, God, what does he say?
He says, God says to Moses, I am who I am.
Echwe asher echwe. Okay, I will be what I will be. I am who I am. What? That's a pretty wild statement. That Moses is wondering, who are you? And he doesn't even say his name. He says, here's what you need to know, Moses. I am.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm everything.
That is wild. I mean, there's so much significance to that. And this is much more than some philosophical statement or whatever. But the point is, the one true God, this true Elohim, is the one we're going to talk about, this personal name. He's saying, I am and will continue to be what I am and will forever be. So that's why when we talk in the future about the love of God or the patience or mercy of God.
God is love. He's those things.
He is it. He's the most consistent, reliable love, mercy, justice, whatever it is. Versus sometimes, George, you and I are sometimes George is nice to me, not all the time, guys.
2080.
Yeah, sometimes George is mean to me.
Slap him.
And I turn the other cheek.
And I slap that one too. I'm just kidding.
But I think our point here is
Yeah.
We're not consistently just as humans or kind or
Yeah,
merciful.
That's 1090, yeah.
We don't do that. And yet God, all these attributes at once, God is.
He is. I like that because he's also distinguishing himself amongst the other gods as well. You know, he's saying, I am the thing that created that thing. Yeah, I'm more than that. I created what that thing's made out of.
Yeah. So that means you can always depend on this God to be what he is. He's not going to change his character and pull out the rug and it's all different. There's different standards. God, like you talked about, covenant keeps his word.
That's right.
Now, I'll go down and we're going to look at, let me go down to Exodus 3:14. So again, God says, say this to the people of Israel, I am, Yahweh, has sent me to you. Pretty wild.
Okay.
So what's...
kind of switches there.
Yeah. It kind of does switch here. So we know the personal name, when you see all caps, Lord, what is that? Read Exodus 3:15.
It says, God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, the Lord, all caps, Yahweh, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations.
So English Bibles, all caps, Lord, is the personal name of God, Yahweh. And that sounds very similar to the other things we've been reading. When you know that I am who I am was Yahweh Asher Yahweh. That sounds very similar because the words are in it of Yahweh. Okay, so sense. The name is something more than just, today Bob or whatever, like we were saying. He's saying every time the Jewish people thought of the personal name of God or heard Yahweh, they heard I am. And I will be. Pretty cool. So
that's powerful.
Now Moses cannot go and tell them, I will be with you. No, it doesn't make sense. Moses says, Yah, he. That's he, Yah, Yahweh. The one who will be with you, that's the one who sent me. This is the same Elohim who created the heavens and the earth, and what other Elohim has a story with Abraham's family? That's the same one, Yahweh. Now that name, why don't you say that has a lot of big meanings for his character and nature, if God is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It coincides right with his character, you'd say. If he is love and he is all these other things that are, pure and holy. I mean, you look back then, Jacob, for example, often their character was, their name was defined by their character.
Yeah, Jacob's not a great guy. He's always lying. That's kind of his name.
Yeah. And then it gets changed, right?
Yeah, Israel.
Yeah. And right here what we see is, God's name is defined by his character. I am. I am different than you. I am everything that I've created. And he's everything. He's more than us.
Right. That's why if you look at there are many passages like Psalm 90 verse 2, it says, before the mountains are brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You are Elohim.
Yeah, forever. That's the key word there.
Yeah. So if he is, that from everlasting to everlasting, and many other verses we'll talk about in the future, I'm sure, it talks about how God is eternal. No beginning or no end is a wild idea. That's what Jesus means when he's like, I am the beginning and the
Alpha and the Omega. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Now, Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5, you get the 10 Commandments.
Okay.
Now, to us, idolatry is very silly in our minds, yet alone we probably commit it a lot.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Well, that's because Elohim, is that the word?
Yeah.
I'm going to just let you say that the rest of it.
I butcher it all the time too.
Anything could be that. We could define that as anything, like I said before, celebrities could be that. You could be that. People could be that.
But in ancient Near Eastern culture, there's other Elohims to choose from.
Absolutely.
So look at Deuteronomy 5:6, because this is a place of religious pluralism. Egypt is, the ancient Near East is, there's other gods.
I am the Lord your God, it says, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery.
Now, is that Lord just Adonai, or is that a different Lord?
No, it's capital Lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which means we're talking about Yahweh. So it says, I'm Yahweh, your Elohim, the personal name, and your God, very personal. I'm the one who's rescued your people. All the promises. But then here's the implication. The next verse, Deuteronomy 5:7, you shall have no other Elohims, no other gods before me. There can be no other Elohims before this Elohim. Because did those other so-called gods and Elohims rescue them?
No, they didn't. That's what I love about Yahweh in the sense is he gets involved in the people's lives here. He comes in to rescue them, to redeem them. The other gods there don't do that. They have to now make these gods and craft them and now their imaginations, and these people seek those things. But
and they hurt them.
And it hurts them.
Those other Elohims.
That's right. But God seeks out his people, you see.
Yeah. So the Bible acknowledges Old Testament many other spiritual beings or Elohims.
Yeah.
But not every Elohim, is a capital G. We're talking about gods, false gods, spiritual beings, because Yahweh is the creator of all, right? That's his name. He is.
That's
right. But even, the New Testament, we'll get words like daemon, a lesser deity or spiritual being. Similar idea to our lowercase g, Elohim in the Old Testament.
Oh, sure.
And you hear daemon, and what do you hear?
Like demon or something?
Yeah. That's a very real spiritual being. Jesus is casting them out.
All the time.
It's a big deal. They're around in the book of Acts, are kind of freaky. But that's not the Elohim. That is not the deity. That is not God. So monotheism, there's only one true God. Right. That's the idea. The only one who's Yahweh. He's the one true Elohim, because true humanity and life come from him. We connect to these other Elohims, these false gods, idols, demons. We're in trouble. Obviously, like huge issues. Let's begin to wrap up here in Deuteronomy 6. The Shema is what it's known. The Jewish people pray this morning, noon, and night. What's that read?
Jesus quoted this too a few times. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart.
Now, what kind of Lord is this?
This is capital. This is Yahweh.
Okay, Yahweh. So we discover that Yahweh, our Elohim, the Lord our God, is one. There are other Elohims to worship, so to say.
Sure.
Like there are other idols, but there's only one Elohim who is and who has rescued, the one true God, Yahweh. Because religious pluralism is the big deal. So much later, like you said, Jesus quotes this. Jesus comes walking around, and he's kind of acting and talking like,
I am.
Yeah, exactly. He's talking like, in Yahweh, he forgives sins. And the religious leaders are like, excuse me, Jesus, like only God can forgive sins. Or when Jesus says in John, I think 10, that I and the Father are one. What did we just read in Deuteronomy 6?
The Lord is one.
Yeah, well, okay, what? Wait a second. Or as you just said, Jesus says, and they're like, you're not older than Abraham, Jesus. You're not even 50. And that's when he says, well, before Abraham was.
I am.
And they knew what that meant. Like, they were going to kill him. They're like, what's he doing?
That's a big claim from what we just read. People could be confused if they don't have the right idea.
Right. And we're going to talk more about this idea because the Old Testament, like we pointed out with this angel of the Lord and other kind of different ways God might reveal himself, is not actually super new. But the idea of God having a son, that's a new idea to the Hebrews overall, I'd say.
Right.
Because, the New Testament has the idea of Father, Son, and Spirit.
That's right.
Which we'll talk a little bit more next time. But you know where else there was a lot of religious pluralism? Was all over the Roman Empire. Such as a big city full of idols, Corinth. Look at 1 Corinthians 8:4-6. There are all kinds of other religions and so-called deities.
It says, we know that an idol has no real existence and that there is no God but one. For although there may be so-called gods in heavens or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is one God, the Father, from whom all things and for whom we exist, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom are all things and through whom we exist.
Wow. This sounds a lot like the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Now we're reading, obviously, English Bibles, we understand. But so in Hebrew, like we've talked about, Yahweh, the personal name of God, when they were reading out loud, they wanted to be very respectful. They were very, in their culture, like, we don't, this is a holy name.
I mean, you take off your sandals.
Yeah, that whole idea. Yeah. And so they would take Yahweh and they'd shorten it up to just to just basically say Adonai. Okay. It was a reminder in the text, say Adonai. So that's Hebrew. Now, Jesus likely, and Paul, we know when you look at the Greek intensely, pulls from the Old Testament, but it's from a Greek translation of the Old Testament. That's what's known as the Septuagint. And it's not like Yahweh is translated to Yahweh, it's like it's transliterated in the Greek or anything like that. No. They just take Lord. And so Adonai becomes Kyrios, which is Lord in Greek. So really weird, though, because here Paul just said there's only one God, a Father. But there's also only one Lord. And if you have a Hebrew background, behind Lord is the significant, holy, set apart personal name, right? Yahweh.
Wow.
Huge deal. So who's God? Is the Father God but not Lord? But Jesus is Lord but not God? What's going on here?
Well, the easy answer is they both are.
Yeah. And that's pretty amazing. And we're going to look at that in the future.
That's right. That's going to be our next coming episode.
Yeah.
Kind of leave you with a cliffhanger there. But
we'll talk more about that idea, what's known as the Trinity in the future. But the fact is, the Lord our God is one.
That's right. This is just one peel to the onion. And we want to dive deeper into who God is.
Yep. And we've just now looked at the name of God, Yahweh.
All right.
I think that's a wrap.
All right. Go so.